What's going on, everybody? Cleopas Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for the Motorola Moto G Power 5G that you might not know about. Now, as always, if you do end up wanting to learn more about this phone, be sure to check out the description, where we'll be linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to disable your Google feed. Now, in case you don't know what it is, the Google feed is this news feed right here, which some people might find useful, but personally for me, I never use it. So if you ever want to get rid of it, all you have to do is press and hold your finger on a blank spot on the home screen. So like this. Then from here, go to where it says Home Settings. From this menu, go to Swipe Access. And as you can see, by default, Google feed will be selected, but if you want, you can do nothing. And now if we go back, the Google feed will no longer pull up. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use split screen. To do this, from your home screen, go to your recent apps. From here, hover over the app you want on top. So in this case, we're just going to do settings. Press and hold on the icon up here. From here, go to split top. Select the second app. And that's pretty much it. From here, you can change the size. So if you want it to be a little bit bigger on the bottom or a little bit smaller. And to get out of split screen, take this bar and slide it either all the way up or all the way down. Now I'm going to show you a feature called 3-finger screenshot. Now, in case you don't know, the main way to take a screenshot with this phone is simply by pressing the power key and the volume down key. And keep in mind, you don't have to hold these buttons, just press them real quick like this. And that's pretty much it. But in addition to this, if you put 3 fingers on the screen, so like this is also going to take a screenshot. So definitely a cool feature. And keep in mind, this feature is active by default, but if for some reason it's off on your phone, or maybe you want to turn it off, maybe you always accidentally activate it. Whatever the case may be, if you do ever want to change the setting for it, all you have to do is go to settings. From here, go to gestures. And then from here, go to where it says 3-finger screenshot. So again, as you can see, the feature is on right now and it will be on by default, but if you ever want to turn it off, you always can. Now I'm going to show you how to change the refresh rate on your display. Now, in case you don't know, with the Moto G Power 5G, this phone does have a 120Hz refresh rate, and this is basically going to make the movement on the screen a bit faster and smoother, making the phone feel more premium in general. And while this is definitely a nice feature, if you're on your phone a lot, it can drain the battery a bit faster. So if you want to save battery and you don't necessarily care about the phone feeling a bit more premium when you're scrolling and stuff, you can change it back to 60Hz. To do this, go to settings. Then from here, go to display. Then from here, go to where it says display refresh rate. So right here. And as you can see, we got a few different options. So right now it is set to 120Hz. So it's going to be at 120Hz the whole time. So again, basically it's going to make the motion on the screen a bit faster and smoother, which in turn is going to make using the phone in general feel a bit more premium. But if you want, you can also change it to auto, which is basically going to optimize things. So it's kind of a balance between having a nice premium scrolling experience and also optimizing battery life. But then if you want, you can change it to 60Hz. So it's not going to feel as nice, but at the same time, it will help with the battery life. Now, in my opinion, I feel like in general, this phone has such good battery life anyway that it really doesn't make a big difference, and honestly having a higher refresh rate is just going to give you a better experience overall, so I personally recommend not really messing with this unless you really need to, but if you ever do want to, the option is always here. Now I'm going to show you a feature called Fast Flashlight. As the name suggests, this is basically a quick way to turn your flashlight on and off. So for this, go to settings. From here, go to gestures. And from this menu, go to where it says Fast Flashlight. So right here. As you can see, it is on right now, but if it's not on your phone, this is where you turn it on. And with this feature on, to turn on your flashlight, all you have to do is make this motion right here. And there we go. To turn it off, do the same thing. And there we go. So definitely a cool feature. Now I'm going to show you a few options for the peak display. Now, in case you don't know what this is, essentially the peak display is this little display between the lock screen and the phone actually being off. So basically this right here. It's really similar to Samsung's always on display, for example, giving you a little information without actually fully turning on the display. So we have a few options here. To see these, go to settings. From here, go to display. Then from here, go to where it says peak display. So right here. As you can see, it is on. If you want, you can also disable it. And from here, if we go to settings, we have a few different options here. First of all, you can change the clock style. So if you go here, there are a few different options. You can also disable the background. So by default, when the peak display is on, it's going to have this little animation in the background. So as you can see there, there's like a thing moving. If you want, you can also turn it off. So there we go. You can also change how it's activated. So by default, it's activated by tapping. So again, I'm sure you've probably noticed by now. But if I lock the display, tap on the screen, there's the peak display. Moving the phone is another option. So if you go like this, lock it, there we go, it eventually works. Back to the main menu, there's vibrate on touch, so when you touch the display, it'll vibrate as it turns on. Safe reply, so if you get like a text and it shows up in the peak display, by default it's gonna have this on so not anyone who picks up your phone can reply to a text. And then finally block apps if you want to hide notifications from specific apps. Now I'm going to show you a feature called one-handed mode. This is essentially going to make the phone a bit easier to use with one hand. Now with this phone, in my opinion, one-handed mode is really not ideal in the sense that to actually use it, you have to either be in gesture navigation, which I know not everyone likes, or you have to have an icon right here on the screen, which is also kind of annoying. So I'm going to show you both ways. So first, I'm going to go into gesture navigation. In case you don't know, to do this, go to settings. From here, go to gestures. From here, go to system navigation and gesture navigation right here. And now for one-handed mode, go back to the gestures menu. And then from here, go to one-handed mode. So right here, as you can see, it is on right now. And when you're in gesture navigation, to activate one-handed mode, basically pull down the screen, and it's gonna be a little tricky at first, but keep in mind it's like right above your navigation bar, so like this. It's basically gonna pull down the screen like this, making everything a bit easier to do with one hand. Now, again, I'm not really sure how useful this actually is because it's a little inconvenient. I mean, you can't really see the whole screen. Unlike Samsung where you actually see a whole miniature screen in there, so definitely has limited usefulness, but if you ever do want to use your phone with one hand and you want to make it a little bit easier, then it definitely is a nice feature to have. Now we're back in the one-handed mode menu right now. And as you can see, I have switched to button navigation. So again, in the normal sense, for whatever reason, without gesture navigation, you technically can't use one-handed mode, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I mean, you can still pull down the screen from the same area and I don't really see why it makes a difference, but with button navigation, what you can do if you want to use one-handed mode is use the one-handed mode shortcut. So if you activate this, it's going to create this little button on the edge of the screen right here. So now no matter what you're doing on the phone, if you press this icon, it's going to pull down the screen just like it did with gesture navigation. So even when you are using button navigation, you can technically use one-handed mode, you just have to have this icon right here, which again is really not ideal, but if you really do like the feature, it is always an option. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to show and hide the battery percentage on the status bar. So as you can see right now, the battery percentage is not there, although I kind of just realized it shows up in this widget, so that's kind of cool. But regardless, if you do want to get the battery percentage to show up here, what you can do is go to settings. From here, go to battery. And from here, as you can see again, by default battery percentage will not be on, but if you want, you can toggle it on. And now as you can see, the battery percentage is up here. But also keep in mind if you don't want to have it up here at all times, but you still occasionally want to see your battery percentage, all you really have to do is swipe down from the top like this, and it's going to show up right here no matter what. Now while we're in the battery menu, another thing I want to go over is a feature called battery saver. Now keep in mind you're not going to want to keep this on at all times because it does limit some features and make the phone's performance a bit slower. But if you ever are in a situation where maybe your phone is dying and you don't want it to run out of battery completely, what you can do is turn on the battery saver. And as you can see, this is going to put the phone in dark mode and it's going to limit some features, basically helping prolong the phone's battery life. In addition to this, to turn this feature on, you don't even need to go to this menu. All you have to do is swipe down twice from the top. So 1, 2, and the battery saver is in this menu. So right here, definitely cool to have quick access to it. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to show you is a quick way to get to your camera. Now keep in mind for whatever reason, this feature is not on by default. So to turn it on, go to settings. From here, go to gestures. And from here, go to where it says double press power key. So right here. So again, by default, it will be set to none, but you can set it to launch camera. And now with this feature active, to open your camera, all you have to do is double press the power key, and it's going to open right up. But this concludes my tips and tricks video for the Motorola Moto G Power 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about this phone, definitely check out the description where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalipas Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.